Hey guys, welcome to this Cloud66 video on deploying your first Docker stack. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the steps of getting a real-life application up and running with best practices on your own servers with Cloud66. I'm assuming you know what a Docker file and Docker service are, but in case you don't, I'm going to put together another video on how that works, as well as getting your own application ready for Docker. I'll link to these videos in the description below. You can also have a look at our help pages at help.cloud66.com in the Building Your Stack category, as well as our blog at blog.cloud66.com. So I've logged into Cloud66 and I'm going to click the Build Your First Stack link. This page allows us to set our stack name, environment, define our Docker service, and add any databases our service may need. In this video, I'm going to deploy a really cool app called Let's Chat, which is an open source self-hosted chat for small teams. I'll call the stack Let's Chat, and I'm going to deploy it in the production environment. The form below is aimed at the developer side of the DevOps equation, which takes a dev's view of the deployment. Once I'm happy with the settings below, I'll also be able to set the ops view of the deployment. So I'm going to create a Docker service for this app and call it Let's Chat. A stack can consist of several services, in other words, apps, and we can add more by clicking the Add Another Service. But for this example, I'll just use one. You're then presented with two options for building the service. Cloud66 can pull your code from Git and build the image for you, or it can pull your existing Docker image from your repository. The former uses a Cloud66 service called BuildGrid to build your image based on your Docker file. We then host and version this image in our registry and push it to your servers. You'll just need to provide a Git URL and branch and specify the port your containers will listen on. For Let's Chat, I'm going to use their official Git URL as well as the master branch, and this service is going to listen on port 5000. I also want to add a MongoDB database, as I know Let's Chat uses that as its backend. Now that that's set up, we can switch to the Advanced tab and see what the YAML looks like. There are many more directives you can use in the YAML, from setting health checks for zero downtime deployments to mounting volumes and deploy commands. For now, we'll use the existing configuration, as it's enough to get our app running. Now we can hit the Next button, which will present us with the ops view of this stack deployment. This page allows you to set where you're deploying to, whether it be a cloud provider like AWS, DigitalOcean, Rackspace, and several others, or to your own server. You can also set whether or not Mongo will be deployed locally, in other words, on the same server as your service, on a dedicated server, or if you're using an external service for you. We'll ask you to select a cloud provider you'd like to deploy to from the dropdown. I'm going to use AWS, and I'll call the key AWS just for simplicity. I'm going to add my AWS API keys, which are locked down with IAM permissions, and click Add Cloud. Now I'm going to select my server region to be Northern Virginia. My server size is going to be a C3 2x large, and I'm going to deploy it to my VPC. I'm also going to set MongoDB to deploy to a dedicated server. I know that the Let's Chat app also uses an environment variable called LCB database URI to connect to its MongoDB instance, so I need to add that to this stack's environment variables. These top environment variables are generated for you automatically by Cloud66 based on the IP addresses that will be associated with your servers. This makes it really easy for you to reference, for example, your database server with an environment variable in your code. So I'm going to create the environment variable needed by Let's Chat, LCB database URI. I'm also going to reference our existing MongoDB URL with curly braces. When I hit save, this environment variable will be used for the deployment. This page also features an advanced tab where we can specify the version of Docker and MongoDB to use, along with various other more advanced settings directly in YAML. I'm going to go ahead and deploy the stack as I don't want to customize these. The first time we deploy the stack can take a little while as everything is built from scratch, but any future deployments are much faster. So during the deployment process, Cloud66 connects to your AWS account with the API keys provided. It creates two instances in your VPC, one for your Docker server and another for the database, as that's what we configured. Then everything is configured on these servers, from default app upgrades and firewall rules on each server to installing Nginx and Docker on one and installing MongoDB on the other. Once the image is built on BuildGrid, it'll be pushed to the server and the lifecycle of its containers will be managed fully. The stack build is complete shortly thereafter, and we now have a fully functioning Let's Chat app running on your own servers within AWS. We can verify this by visiting the IP of our Docker server. There it is. This concludes this introductory video to building your first Docker stack. In other videos, I'm going to describe how to get your app up and running in Docker and go through some really cool Cloud66 features, ranging from live logs, which allow you to see your container logs live in the UI, to our networking and health check services.